really love it here. I was honestly not expecting to love living out here as much as I do. I mean, yes, there's a ton of people, and yes, California is expensive, but I like walk out the apartment and I see palm trees and I look down the street and then there's like mountains in the background, and coming from South Texas, that blows my mind. My name is Nave. I first took a clay class when I was in high school at the very end, and I was like, great, I'm gonna do that thing, very naively, not knowing what that meant. And then I went and got my bachelor's of fine arts at the University of North Texas in Denton, just north of Dallas, and I went to Wichita State University and got my master's of fine arts in ceramics. Since then, I've gone and done studio assistantships. I went to Aramont School of Arts and Crafts when I was in grad school, and then I went to Watershed Center for the Ceramic Arts and was on studio staff there the past 2 summers. The equipment at the studio is really expansive. I've been at other studios that have been just as well equipped, but there hasn't been quite as much space in other places. Having space and having time is really important to how I make my work, and being able to move around and work in different spots just in the studio, moving from my studio to like the hand building area where there's a big garage roll-up door, and so like the Southern California sun is just like basking in the room. And I get to move around and work in those different spaces, and I can work by myself, or I can go and work in an open place where there's a lot of people and have conversations with them while I'm working is really fun, honestly, and important to my work. One of the best things about AMOCA is the community. From beginner people who have never touched clay before and just wanted to take a class, to people who have been working in clay for 20 plus years. When I first got here, I just felt wanted. Like, everybody was so excited. Man, Nave is coming, whoa! And I had never been on that end of a studio. I had usually been kind of behind the scenes as a studio assistant, and coming here as like the visiting artist, I was shocked. I felt so special, and it was really amazing. Lots of times when I'm working in my studio, which is right next to the kitchen, food just like shows up on the table there. There's bowls of fruit all the time, homemade baked goods, or just whatever somebody had like from their garden. People just bring in vegetables, and that just shows to me that people are so generous and they want to give back to the community they are also a part of. Potlucks are pretty regular here as well. We have a pizza oven. Past couple of weeks we've been firing that up. I've been making bread and cooking it in the pizza oven, and we've all been grilling other things, and just this whole wonderful sense of community at AMOCA has made this experience amazing. An artist who I first met while out here, Scott Ross, he's the other visiting artist at this point, and he's kind of been here short term, but it's really been fun to work next to him. He's been working, his work is very large, and he's out in the big hand building room, and so sometimes I'll take my pots out there and I'll work on my stuff and just kind of like pinch, and he'll be doing his thing, slamming a bunch of really heavy clay around. And then we'll just like have conversations and then kind of just go back to our own work, and that's really nice to see how another artist works in a completely different process and getting to talk to them about their work. Being a part of a residency program as a young artist is so important to me, in that I've gotten to meet a ton of people early on in my career that I wouldn't necessarily have met anywhere else. I'm exposed to other artists, to other galleries, to just another community that helps build my network earlier on, so then that will give me connections throughout the rest of my career. It's also, I think, really important to have some sort of residency under your belt, the more the better, frankly, as a young artist, so that you just have time and space to really learn and develop the ideas that are important to you. Sometimes when you're in school, well, actually all the time when you're in school, there are so many different pressures from faculty to defend your work, to have done a ton of research, which is important and you should do that, but it also means that you don't have as much like mental space to just breathe and think about the ideas when you have to teach classes and defend your work to a bunch of faculty, which is nerve-wracking, and like have critiques, which are important to the process, but it's nice to have the breathing room outside of that. being here especially has been great because I don't have a lot of worries. Like, I don't have to pay rent on an apartment. That means that I don't have to work a million hours to be able to afford that, and I just have studio time and I can just breathe, and I don't have to defend the work in the same way that I did to faculty at graduate school. So this has been a really great place to just kind of like breathe and make the work and let the ideas be what they are. Personally, something that has been important to me about being here at AMOCA is having the resources to just think about how I want to balance other aspects of my life. Running and cooking and developing friendships has become just as much a priority as making my pottery and developing those ideas. And because I have the resources to have an apartment and studio space, and that's been given to me by AMOCA, I am able to think about and give much more mental space to other aspects of my life that are really important to me. And then those things like running and cooking has also influenced and informed the work that I make in the studio. I now don't feel that I have to include every single idea in each pot. It's not always like more is more. I can, like, since I've been able to breathe, like the work has been able to breathe and is not quite as overwhelming for myself to make or for the viewer to use and to look at. And I think my work has become so much more successful because of that.